I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads. Welcome to another episode of Purple Roads. I'm Carrie Stinson, and I am thrilled that you're here this week. A good buddy is here with me this week, and I'm just so thrilled to have Forrest Harding. Forrest, I know him for so many different reasons, but you'll probably know him as the puppeteer of Chica on the Sunny Side Up show. Forrest, how are you?
Hey, Carrie, I'm so happy to be here. I'm doing well, and it's really good to see you. It's nice seeing you again.
Oh, it's so good seeing you too. It's crazy how we're all here with Zoom, and but it's been just so wonderful. How you doing through everything that's going on with COVID?
Been doing okay. Been keeping in touch with friends a lot like this.
Yeah.
Honestly. So this kind of is this is not unfamiliar to me.
Right.
Just kind of. I've actually I got to say this. Having been introduced to Zoom through all this, I got to say I've been in touch with friends that I haven't seen in person in years. And then since we were all kind of stuck home for a while and we knew about Zoom, it's like, hey, why don't we get together and, get together and just kind of catch up. And
right.
I've actually had a chance to, have Zoom conversations with old friends, recent friends. I mean, I've stayed in touch actually better during this than I really expected. So I guess if there's a full side of the glass,
right,
it might be that, even though I do, obviously I miss getting together with friends.
Sure.
I sure miss that. I'm sure we all do. But this
is...
Well,
being a purple dinosaur for all those years and hugging people, it's killing me that I can't hug people. But
Barney, who can't hug, that is unacceptable.
At least I can virtually hug and send that across the way.
I know, yeah. It's like that's the thing that no one's talking about is that Barney can't hug.
Yes.
Why is no one talking about that?
It's just not right. It's just
not right.
Not right. So obviously I want to get to, and I want to talk all about Sunny Side Up and Chica. But before that, I want to know how you got into all of this, because I don't know that story of how you got into, kids entertainment and puppeteering and all the things that you did.
Yeah, it was kind of like a long and winding road, a purple road maybe. That I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey, and went to school at Temple University. I went to film school actually. I thought I was going to be, Steven Spielberg or George Lucas, something like that. And never really kind of I always enjoyed kind of performing, like even in grade school, high school, I did plays, I did the shows. I was kind of, woo, fun guy, but acting was not really, performing was not really my thing, was not kind of my passion. I thought I was going to be, a movie maker.
Right.
So after school, I moved out to Los Angeles, where I lived for about 10 years.
Okay.
While I was there, I got into production mostly, I was a PA on sets for mostly commercials. I got into commercial production pretty early and then stayed there. And actually, while I was working behind the scenes in commercials, I was seeing the auditions, I was seeing the actors kind of doing it. I'm like, I could do that. I could. Not put them down in any way. I'm just like, that looks like fun. Like, I kind of want to do that. So I started taking acting classes. I started taking improv classes because I had heard they help you with auditions, which is true. So I took classes at the Groundlings. I took some voiceover classes because I liked doing voices. It's kind of something I did for my friends for fun, doing impressions and things.
Sure.
And so I'm like, oh, let me see how I can do this. Also, I was lucky enough to be behind the scenes and see how not big a deal the audition process is in terms of you not being picked. And that was the big thing with me. I was afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
But when I saw how arbitrary the decisions were on the other side of that about who got the role and who didn't, I was like, okay, that's fine. Like there were people that I would see get audition, and they were fantastic, and then I would hear them talking about it afterwards as I'm getting them coffee or donuts or whatever my job was at the time, and they're like, he has a beard, and like our guy doesn't have a beard. Like, he can shave the beard. What's the matter with you? Like, oh, he's just, he's just too tall. Like, oh, forget it. So I started doing commercials. So I would kind of do half and half. Half my life was working in production behind the scenes, like as production manager or first AD, first assistant director. And then the other side of me was auditioning for commercials and, voiceover jobs and kind of getting work there too. So I was kind of bouncing back and forth 50-50 between those two worlds. And then after a while, I got married. I had a son out in LA. And then after a while, it was when the housing bubble kind of hit out there. And we were trying to buy a house. And there was no way that was going to happen on the 50-50, life that I'd kind of set up for myself. Plus, my wife and I, both our families are back east in the kind of Philadelphia area. So we it was a big, tough call. It's like, all right, we're going to go to LA. We're going to go back east. We're going to go back home and, have another child, which we did, and, be able to buy a house, which we did. And, kind of see what TV world was like out here. And turns out that not a lot of production was happening in Philly at that time, but I did get a production job at a company called Bang Productions, who did a lot of reality TV shows, like Trading Spaces. They did. I don't know if you remember that show?
Yeah.
So I got hired there on this show called Ambush Makeover. And I was a unit manager for that show, and kind of went to like this Surviving Motherhood show, and then eventually I did work on Trading Spaces.
But you were doing on the production side.
Yes, I was behind the camera pretty exclusively at that point. But then this is the weird thing. I was just kind of like me, like at Banyan, like, around the place, and then while I was working on Trading Spaces, I got a call from a friend of mine, this woman Carla, who worked with me at Banyan, and she was working at a different production company, and called Keystone. No. I forget what it was called, but Center City Film Video. So they make.
Don't worry, we don't have memory issues on this show.
No, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, it's all good.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. I'm glad to know that because I got those issues.
I should put that at the top of the show. Don't worry about that. I forgot how one of the Barney staple songs in one episode, so don't worry about that. I've already embarrassed myself there.
Thank goodness. Okay, good. So I get this call from Carla while I'm on Trading Spaces, and she's like, I'm working on this show. They're looking, it's a kid show, and they're looking for someone to do a chicken puppet. And I thought of you. I was like, why did you think of me?
Yeah, is that a compliment or?
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, in a good way. And she's like, no, because they need someone who can do production, but also is okay performing. And I know you could do this. I'm like, okay. So I went and I interviewed. I had to go through like a couple of rounds of interviews. And I told them, it's like, look, I've done lots of production. I do have, performing experience. And I had to tell him, I've never done puppets, not professionally. So but I'm willing to go for it. I'll try. And they hired me. I got the job. And the show, that chicken show was the Sunny Side Up show. And all we heard was that it was a chicken named Chica, and it's going to be live. There's no live preschool shows, and you're going to do one. I was like, let's do this.
That's so amazing, and so much I was thinking about during all that. Obviously, seeing that interview process, audition process, obviously helped you a lot. And obviously, I mean, the groundlings that people don't know, it's pretty amazing that you went through that improv So I can see how all that prepared you for that audition.
It really did. To be honest, and not only the audition, but I'm not the kind of person that can confidently tell you I can do this. Like,
Right.
I know I'm going to do this well. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But in that situation, when I read what they needed, they said someone who's organized, someone who has production experience, someone who has performing experience, someone who's comfortable doing this. I'm like, yes, yes, I can do all that stuff. Basically, without saying it, because you'd creep some people out saying that.
Sure.
My entire life has led up to this.
Right. Well, and the other part I find fascinating, and we find this out each week on this show. I don't think I've ever had a guest come on and say, my plan is to be in children's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But they end up there and they absolutely love it. And they see how special it is and what a wonderful place it is. What did you think when all of a sudden you found out you were going to be entertaining kids?
I think my being a dad really, really helped, because I was actually I was watching Sprout before I worked at Sprout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, watching the Goodnight Show with Nina and Star, who I know you had Michelle on your show.
Yes.
Watching the Goodnight Show was our nighttime routine with our son. And we watched the Goodnight Show every night. And what was great, what I liked about Sprout and the Goodnight Show was that it didn't show entire half-hour shows. It would show, like, say, if Berenstain Bears, for example.
Sure.
Normally, when it would show on TV, it would be like 2 stories with, maybe a commercial break or something in between, which would maybe make it equal a half hour. But really, each one of those stories was about 11, 12 minutes. But what Sprout did was they just showed the 11, 12 minutes and then some other interstitial thing, and then would show another show that was 11, 12 minutes. So if Dylan wanted to watch Berenstain Bears, we wouldn't have to watch a whole half hour of programming, because we were trying to keep screen time down and do all that stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So we could kind of watch Berenstain Bears, and then, or whatever it was.
Right.
And then it would be the show that we watched, and then you'd see Nina and Star for a while, and then Kevin he did the birthday show.
Yes.
And Kevin would have these big elaborate birthday cards, and he would share those. And so Kevin was basically the last thing that we would see before we put Dylan to bed. So I was a dad. He was, when I started at Sprout, Dylan was 7, and my daughter Sarah was 3.
Oh,
so
wow.
They were right in the wheelhouse for Sprout's audience. They were right there. So my ability to be able to work at this network was completely fed by the fact that I was a dad. I was a very energetic and involved dad. I was playing Blues Clues with my son around the house.
Oh, that's
There's
awesome.
the other clue, buddy. Did you write it down? Oh, there. That was us. Unfortunately, and I have to admit this off the bat to you, Kerry, we did not watch Barney. Only because there was just a lot for him to choose from. This is kind of like the beginning of 24-hour, kid programming.
Right.
And sadly, Barney didn't make the cut. We tried, nothing personally. He just didn't.
I understand. I understand.
It's a buffet. Hey, you can't get upset if you rather have chicken than steak.
I understand. I understand.
But so being a dad, and then being able to be a part of this network that we were already watching and loved, we loved Sprout, and now to be a part of it. And not only that, when we started working on Sunny Side Up, I got partnered up with Kevin.
Oh, wow.
Kevin was the host. They brought Kevin over as the host of Sunny Side Up, and the very first week, the first day that Sunny Side Up goes live, it was me as Chica, and Kevin was the host.
Wow.
So I was when I first met him, I was nervous. I'm like, oh, that's him. That's him. That's the birthday guy. Oh, it's the birthday guy. I'm like, oh, hi. It played cool, though, Hey, nice to meet you.
Of course.
I don't watch you every night.
Of course. Well, let's go right there. So what was it like working with Kevin?
He was such a great collaborator. Like that was the great thing about Sunday Setup is that we, for those who don't know, it
Yeah.
was live 5 days a week. But you can't have, or I guess you can, but they didn't want to have just like a puppeteer and a host live, be one host live every
Right.
day. So it was three teams, and one team would be on the air, a host and a Chica tier. We called ourselves Chica tiers.
Chicketeer, love that.
Chica tiers. We were associate producers. So basically, the host and the Chica tier are coming up with all the content, all the stuff that happens kind of in between the shows for the 3 hour block. And then while one team's on the air, another team is prepping for the week after, and then another team is well, the host is off, but that Chicateer is working in the control room doing another job.
Right.
They were doing the counts. So Kevin and I are presented with doing this show. We're all kind of figuring it out. They gave us training. They gave all the hosts training on kind of, okay, here's how you do live TV, because I don't think any of them had done live TV.
Right.
And the Chicateers that got hired, none of us had done live TV. I mean, I had done a few back in LA. I had done a few live commercials. Like Ford Focus had this thing when the Ford Focus first came out. They did live commercials. That was how modern and edgy they were. Like, we're going to do live commercials. So
Right.
I mentioned that in my interview. I'm like, oh, I've done live TV. I did these live commercials back in LA, man. I'm good. I'm good with live TV. So we have to figure out how to puppeteer. And
Right.
so while I'm starting to work with Kevin, and he and I are kind of like finding out that we have a very similar sense of humor. We have a very kind of, oh yeah, and then we could do, oh yeah. Like we'd have a theme like Food Week, for example. And we're like, oh, we could make a rap. Like, oh yeah, and then we could do a song. The rap. Yes, we could do a rap. And he's like, oh yeah. And it could be this. Oh yeah. And we could do that. Like, that was us. We were, ooh yeah, all over each other all the time. It was fantastic. He was so great. And that's like prepping, like so much work, especially in the beginning where they didn't have everybody hired yet. We were making our own props. Eventually they did hire people to do the props, professionals. Props got much better, and costumes and all that
Oh,
stuff.
sure.
But in the beginning, it was just us, and it was kind of an all hands on deck kind of thing. I remember when Kevin and I were prepping, since we're the only ones that were prepping because we were that very first week. Like Kelly, who was one of the other hosts, she was diving in there, making stuff, helping cut stuff, and the other Chicateers are there, and like everybody's just kind of like all hands were on deck, and it was really just that like team building. It really was team building in the beginning, so that by the time we were alive and we were going, we were all like in it together, and we were learning from each other, and it was just it was awesome. Just that charge of being live was so great. It was awesome.
I tell you, I was on that show several times, but I had come from doing Barney and Friends. So, we had 4 cameras and 3 sets and this massive production.
Mm-hmm.
And so they fly us up there to do it the first time.
For Thanksgiving, right?
It was Thanksgiving with Michelle.
Yeah.
And boy, I mean, it's like being shot out of a cannon.
Now, what did they tell you? What did you know about Sunday Side Up before that first appearance? What did they tell you about it, or what did you know about it? Did you know much about it?
No, I didn't know much. I had done a lot of like, Good Morning America and Today and Rosie. So I had done a lot of stuff like that. So I'd done live.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was going to be more like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they really didn't tell me how small that studio was. I had no clue about the robotic cameras.
Yeah. There was no robotic cameras because there's no room for camera operators or even full-size cameras, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I didn't know how much action you had going on. I mean, it's 2 people and there's pulleys and mail and things going on like crazy. And, Barney's big and I don't think you all realize how big Barney was. And,
I do remember we had to cut a hole in the wall for your tail.
yes.
We had to cut a hole on the floor. That where the set met the floor, we had to like cut out like this mouse hole so your tail could go in.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize also how much he moves. I mean,
Right.
Barney jumps and bell kicks and they're like, you can go up and that's it. You can't go to side. You can't, and I've got
you do this, you're gonna take somebody out.
Right. You can kind of move a hip here and there, so I don't think I've been challenged like that. I mean, there's so much happening on that show, and I was just beyond impressed by what all of you had put together. It was just incredible how smooth
That's
you made it
to
look.
say. Yeah, it's definitely we tried to over the time that we're doing the show, we're getting better and better at it. So I'd love to. I can't help but think that every time you came back, we had kind of like improved some systems, improved some things, and gotten faster, gotten better. I remember, you mentioned the Mr. Mailman.
Yeah.
Delivered the birthday cards.
Right.
Right. So he just, and again, like Chica has her squeak, like Mr. Mailman, he just went like wah wah wah, and like that was his whole thing. So we had to come up with like creative ways that Mr. Mailman can drop off the birthday cards. Like,
right.
What can he do? And I remember like we'd all kind of like sit there and someone had a great idea. He could bring him in by helicopter. So we came up with, he was just like a flat, like almost like a flat Stanley kind of character. He didn't move. He was just like and so we'd have him fly him in from above if they were too big. And we had him on a tractor coming in from the side. We had him in like this back window. So it was, definitely, we had to be economic with our space. And I can't imagine like a big character like Barney, like it's not like, all right, Carrie, you need to fill the space. You're right. You got all this. You got to really move around. It's like, you got to move very little or you're going to knock over this bowl. There's the recipe we're making, or, you got to look at this camera, look at that camera. I mean, it's what we and our crew were able to do. We also had the best crew. I know everybody says they have the best crew. Everybody says that, but we had the best crew. Like,
well, the second best crew, because the best crew was in Dallas, Texas, with me. But
let's say the best crew in Pennsylvania.
There you go.
There you go. I'll take you there. I do remember. I have a great memory with you talking about that. We had you guys on there, and we had the idea to do the transformation from the plush Barney to you, real Barney, live. We weren't going to pre-tape it. We were going to do it live. So Lucy, who was our technical director, she's like figuring it out. Okay, what can we do? All right, she had like these presets on her little robotic camera, so you could like preset 1 would be zoomed in on the plush, and then preset 2 would be like zoom out, go wide, and it's you, and the plush is framed out. And then our graphics guy is like, oh, I could do this. I can make this graphic that it's like a poof, like this thing that fills the screen, so it'll cover the camera moving. And we had the sound effect, and I remember they were very nervous about getting us the plush Barney because there was only one.
You don't know. I mean, the fact that you got that, I mean, it's like a vault that it came out of. I mean, I never saw it. Like, it would come out when we were shooting Barney and Friends. There's people that would bring it out, and it would be in the scene, and then when it's gone, it's gone. So
yeah, it was.
You don't remember how special you were.
Well, this was like kind of like 3 or 4, appearances in. I think we had kind of earned the reputation for being trustworthy. Because I remember, someone had to handle it and bring it in. It was not us. Like we didn't really get our hands on it, but we were allowed. They did ship it, and we were very excited. And I remember us showing in rehearsal like that transformation to you and to Dean, and you're like, wow, that's impressive. And that for us, like, you guys were like the real deal. You were the real deal. And like coming into like our little show and our little closet, our tiny little set and our tiny little control room. And then you guys come in and saying like, wow, you can do that here? That's great. Good for you. Like that, like we were so proud to just kind of like pull something off that like real professionals.
It's hard for people try to paint a picture of it is that I remember going there the first time. We were sitting in a little break room or whatever, a little coffee area, coffee and donuts or something.
Yeah.
And and I'm thinking, these are offices. Like, where's the studio? I mean, what's going on? And so they take us around and they open the door and I'm like, wow, that's and then they were like, oh, the control room is right next door.
It's right there. And it's half this. It was so tiny. Like
Yes.
it was, you're right. It was an office. It was like on this, this floor, the 24th floor of the Comcast Center was this, office space. And then they said, well, this one will be the studio,
right?
The Sunshine Barn. And that was it. And they made it work. I do think that they extended it a tiny bit, which took some of the real estate away from the control room because there's no social distancing possible in the control room. Not possible. And we were like so on top of each other there. And it is hard to overstate how little room there was and how big it looked on TV. Like, it really did look like the inside of this barn. And wow, there it is, the Sunshine Barn. And there's Chica and Barney's here. Right. Our friends are here. That's so great. And it worked. It didn't feel cramped. And plus, you were so good at like making a little look like a lot, which you really can't, you can do so well that, it doesn't feel like Barney's cramped. You still made it feel like Barney.
That came from all the years of doing hospital appearances. I had done hospital appearances for, goodness gracious, at that time, probably 15 years. And you go into a room and sometimes the child lets you be big and sometimes they don't. Yeah. And so but you have to make him alive. And a lot of times we didn't have the voice with us. So to make something come alive with not being able to talk, and in some cases not be big, you learn those little movements. The other thing that people don't know is that the dressing area was the office across the way from the studio. So when we would have a commercial break or something, I would just go right across and then I'd come back in. I mean, everything happened right there. And I think it's the amazing part.
And right next to you. So Barn, and this I know was a surreal experience for the people who were working at that office. Like, they're just going about their business as a production company doing whatever they're like, oh, we're working on this, we're editing that, we're shooting this. Oh, hi Barney. Like there they are. There's Barney sitting there like, hi, like, oh, whoa, that's wild. I mean, we blew several minds. Plus, note that for the people that don't know, Chica's voice is a squeaker. I actually have one if you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it.
So this was the thing. So actually, and this is kind of an interesting story, is that when we're starting the show and it's going to be Chica is going to be on every week, right? Different hosts, but it's always going to be Chica. However, Chica is going to be played by 3 different people, but it can't look like Chica is played by 3 different people. Chica has to look the same, has to sound the same. So a lot of us had to work together really closely to kind of figure out what that was. And it's like, what's her voice going to be like? What's it? Is it? It can't be talking. It can't be, because it was me and 2 women were playing the same character, and there's no way. Even if it's a kazoo, like, which I think is what they originally thought. They're like, we'll just give you guys a kazoo. I'm like, even a kazoo. Because I'm a musician, so like that's gonna sound different when I play it than when these other people play it. So we were going online. We were ordering all these noisemakers, like slides and like I don't know what. And we ended up finding this. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. So we found this. It's called a mosquito whistle. We found it in a clown supply company. And it was like 15 cents or something, like super cheap. So, but you're supposed to put it in like, like this way. Yeah. So the long bit is in your mouth. Okay. It didn't really work. But if we do it with the long bit outside and kind of clamp our teeth around that, it'll sound like this. And that's her. Wow. That's her voice. And so then it's like, so then we tried this with different people. All right, let's all try to play it.
Yeah.
Let's try to do it. And everybody sounded the same doing it. So I'm like, okay, so that's her voice. So then obviously she's one of these characters, like, so many famous characters are, they don't have a traditional voice. It's kind of syllabic, and it's, it's a little, unorthodox, but so that's the sound that's kind of echoing through the hallways of this company that we're working at. And that's Chica. So the poor people that have to like do their 9 to 5 while
right.
all this is going on, it must have been fascinating.
So let's go further with that. So then so who decides like signature, I can't say voice obviously, but signature sounds for Chica?
Mm-hmm.
Is it collaborative? Did you come up with one, or were there specific things that Chica was famous for?
Yeah, I think especially in those early days, like once this, once our bosses told us like, yep, this is fine, you guys can work with that. The person who was training us as puppeteers to the puppet skills, all that, looking in the camera and holding it up and like, walking and all that stuff, helped us also like how to manipulate this and try to make it sound like a voice instead of just noise. And then as we were going on, again, like live every day, and we had in our workroom where we would be prepping, there would be a TV there, so we could watch the live show while we're prepping and see what they're doing. And this is especially helpful early on as we're kind of finding what works and finding what doesn't. And I found, or we all found, that having Chica repeat stuff is great, is super helpful, because the host doesn't have to translate what Chica just said. So if someone said happy birthday, and it's like, oh, it's Kevin, that kind of thing. So and then we would kind of meet after the show, like, okay, so here's what worked great. When he said happy birthday, I said happy birthday. When he said hi, I said hi. And I would just kind of like repeat it. All right, that's a good thing. Now, but you would have to have Chica kind of come up with her own stuff, things that you had worked out in advance. And think about that too. Like, our show was not scripted. It was like, there was an outline, as you know, there was like bullets, but not lines. So Chica was always saying words though. So the challenge for the hosts was, how can this, this puppet who is my scene partner basically, who only squeaks. At first we thought like an improv game where you can kind of play nonsense, where someone speaks nonsense and then you translate it. It's kind of funny what you say because you can say whatever you want. We first thought it might be that, but that didn't work out. That put too much, I think, pressure on the host to have to come up with everything. So we came up with more organic ways to have Chica, really communicate what she wanted to say and what she wanted to do. Some of it was worked out in advance, but I think also the more time we were together in the barn, the host really could understand what she was saying, because we were saying real words. We were squeaking real stuff. Only every now and then, like I remember Kevin and I did a bit early on to kind of play with it and see how it worked. That it's like, oh, Chica, do you like macaroni and cheese? It's you. She said yes. Like, and that was the gag, and that was the joke. But we didn't do that too much. It was, you had to see real stuff.
Well, and that's what you're dealing with too, right? Your audience. How far can you go where they're going to understand the gag, right? The gag with that kind of stuff.
Exactly right. And we certainly tried to like throw stuff in there for the parents. That would have been like one for the parents.
Right. Well, right. And it's so funny you say that, because Barney was notorious for not doing that. We only entertained the kids, and we sometimes got hit for that because people are like, Barney was almost annoying because it was just entertaining little kids. Where Sesame Street has always had a little bit of sense of humor there for the
Right.
adults. So I think, there's finding that. Um, as I'm watching you moving your hand, and I completely understand all that. What was the challenge as you never being a puppeteer and realizing that you've got to be able to basically, right, pat your head, rub your stomach, and chew gum at the same time to do any of these things that any of us have done, whether it's body costumes or puppeteering. You've got to be able to do that. So you're moving the mouth and you're squeaking, and then you're, all the other things that's going on. How long did it take you to kind of get that down?
It took me longer than I thought I was going to. Again, I was pretty confident in myself that I got this, like no problem. And then I watched back. I can't watch the first week of the Sunny Side Up show. If I look at the videos now, I'm just like, oh no, no, it's not good. But then the next week I'm on is much better. It took a few weeks to feel comfortable in some of the skills. There's skills I took for granted that when I started watching, like really carefully watching, say Sesame Street, which you brought up, and how they do like the eye line, which is like the looking at camera, the puppet looking right at camera, and they could do it with their head like turned and then turn right to camera and be locked in, instead of like kind of coming over and then like, oh, there they are, and that took me some time, but eventually I could do that. That took a few. I'm probably being generous with myself. I'd say a few weeks. I want to say that was probably like a few months of doing it, and I'm doing it, every 3 weeks. So I have a week on, and then I'm in the control room doing the counts, 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, and then I'm prepping for a week. So then I'm prepping and I'm watching and I'm trying to learn some more. So yeah, I'd say probably like a good month or two until it was something I could be proud of. And then after that, it was like, how can we make her more alive and better? At first, she didn't have rods in her wings to make her wings go up and down. And then eventually, I think we were all getting comfortable enough as puppeteers to say she should be able to move her wings. Like, that would be nice to, like, it seems so obvious. Probably all the puppeteers out there are like, of course she should move her wings. We didn't know. I don't know. So then she got rods, and like then she was able to like move her wings, and it was even like one of our puppeteers had a great design. They could like kind of pivot and swivel, and she could kind of do her wings like that. Oh, it was awesome. So
was it difficult to do?
It was at first, but then like anything else, the more reps you get in, the better you get at it. And we could challenge ourselves to kind of like, we started doing this thing called Chica size, where it was like exercise with Chica. And it was kind of based on the Jane Fonda, like 80s workout videos. We even had this kind of synthy music that we did. And it was like, all right, it's time to Chica size. It's time to Chica size. And then we could kind of like, all right, lift up your wing. Now put up your other wing. Now put them up and free. Now put down your wing. And it was so much fun. And like us being able to kind of do that, it's like, yeah, like you say, it's like multiple, ways. But being able to do that if we had been given that on day one, I think we would have been in real trouble. But I think the fact that it evolved made it work much better, I think. Yeah.
Sure. Well, we all go in this industry. I mean, I wouldn't want to look at my early days either, but you're critical and you grow.
Yes.
And it's just funny. I always tell people that I have superhero powers. And what I mean by that is that I had to develop my senses to like a different level when it comes to smelling and hearing and my eyesight and all of those challenges that were at me. I used my senses to really get me through and build my skills up. Did you find that with you, that you use kind of everything you got?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Especially because it was the scene, or the we call them links. They weren't scenes. They were, these 2-3 minute links in between shows, were mostly, kind of like outlined out. So I have to, and this is where the improv with the groundlings really came in handy. Like, how can I help my partner? How can I, kind of move the scene forward and add something without the ability to really say words. So how can I do that? And that was definitely a challenge to say the least. But the hosts were also so good at picking up and running with every little thing we did. And the more we worked together, and I got to work with all the hosts. It was Kevin and I were together first, and then I was with Sean, then I was with Kelly, and it was each of us kind of came up with this like way that like we knew exactly where they were going with it, and I could, yeah, it's like those senses. It's almost like a sixth sense, like you know kind of where they're gonna go. Oh, I know where they're going with this, so I'm gonna do this, and like we didn't practice this, but we're gonna be okay, you know, and it being live too, you really are on that tightrope.
Yep.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You're up there now. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Turn the tables on here. So you said like, so you, so you said your senses are heightened. Now, did you have a monitor in your ear, like an IFB?
Yes.
To hear. You did on. So you'd have to. So you're really only, you have that as well, and just one ear kind of listening for what's around you on set, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So you'd have, yeah, you had, and same thing we developed over the years. This is basically what I had when I first started. And then we got molded earpieces and all of that.
Same, yeah, we had those too. Yeah.
Yeah, where you could do it, but yeah, I was basically blind, and you know, I'm thinking about your show and the outline aspect, and it's bringing back these memories because I'd come in and they go, okay, here's what's going to happen in the next, like, we're going to make a dish, we're going to get the mail, we're gonna, you know, and then they go live, and I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. And, you know, I was basically blind and just listening, and, you know.
Yeah, and you have not only the count to listen to, but you're listening, like Dean was doing the voice, right? So I can't remember how much we would have had to work out, like what Barney was going to say, because it wasn't really scripted for you. Maybe we scripted a little bit more for you. I don't really.
No, it did not feel like it was. It was very, but we hadn't been over all the years. You know, now I did the tour, and the tour was obviously it's recorded, so it's the same show every night for the most part. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a freedom, and I'm listening for keywords, which I'm guessing you were probably doing the same thing.
Yes,
right. If he says superty duper, I know I'm going to do a little hop. And if he says stupendous, not on your set, but most sets, I would do a 360. And so, so there's things that you're kind of prepared for, and they're so innate in your body. I mean, it just almost happens without you even realizing it. And it became that way, even being on your show, is that you'd hear Chica, and so you'd know to go react over there, and
right. And I know you found a rhythm, and you, even like for as short amount of time as you would be there, you found that rhythm. And you can imagine just that rhythm that we would find with each other, like even celebrating birthdays. We did birthdays, I think 3 times during our block. We would do the birthday song, and then we would share cards and wishes with kids. And we just like found this rhythm of when Chica was going to get a close up and say happy birthday,
right, and
when she would like look at the card, and like when they would cut away. Again, it's that relationship you get with your camera, camera crew, like Lucy, our TD, she'd know exactly when to cut into Chica, and Chica's looking at the card, and as soon as she like smiles and looks at camera, that to us was the connection of Chica to that kid who was having that birthday. So Johnny who's home, and that's my card, and Chica saw my card, and now Chica's looking at me, and then she would cut to the wide or whatever it was just, and then I would always make sure Chica said happy birthday to every kid. So the host would say happy birthday. So she said happy birthday a lot.
It's funny you say that about with the crew in that aspect, because I went through that too. Our crew on Barney and Friends, those camera operators would look at you and they'd be like,
yeah.
They would be underneath the camera in our case, and they'd be just giving hand signals, or right before, yeah, and you'd see the head move a little bit, or whatever. But it really does. It takes all of those people, and for me, obviously, it was Dean Wendt. Dean and I became so close as you did, with your host, that you grow and you grow and you grow. And I know for me, when we finally kind of hit that moment where we could almost do anything, it's pretty special, and it lets you, now what can we do? Now what we can do? What was it like for you when you all of a sudden said, I got this, I really have this, and it just kind of releases you, lets you go? Where did you go with it?
Oh man, it was, yeah, and I know exactly that feeling you're talking about. I had that with Kevin. Kevin and I had that, and then you start, yeah, it's like, oh, where else can we do this? Now we can do that. What else could we do? Oh yeah, we can do this and we can do that. I think it was, honestly, I think that we, with just that kind of creativity, we were all kind of like pumping, we were like rocking on all cylinders. We were all so excited to be there. It was a TGIM kind of job. Like we were all just so happy to be at work, thank God it's Monday. And we're just there and so happy to be kind of doing this, what we were doing, that I think we kind of elevated what we were doing, and because, we were holding ourselves to pretty high standards, more than I think their original intention of the show was. I feel like we kind of took the show higher than they were originally intending, because I think if they were originally intending for the show to kind of be what it was, I think they would have hired puppeteers instead of associate producers. but the fact that they hired the talented people they did, all of a sudden we were able to do more complicated segments. We were coming up with songs. The rap, which I think I mentioned earlier, that was like the very first song that Kevin and I were like, oh yeah, and then we could, and then we did that song, and we got such great feedback from it. It was great about being live too, is that we would do something live, and then we would have the whatever show we had kind of thrown to kind of wait for, practice our next segment. Okay, we're going to be live in this, so we're doing so we had a few minutes, and then we would get calls and emails from the office. Oh, everybody saw that. Oh, they said it was great. Oh, that was so fun.
Don't do that again. I got a few of those over the years. That didn't work.
That didn't work. No. It's like, sorry, buddy. Good try, though. But yeah, I think that the more we were able to, just really get into that rhythm and kind of push ourselves and like, what can we do? Not just like, what have we done? Oh, we could do that again. We could do that again. And kids would have been fine with that. Honestly, our preschool audience, the 2 to 6, which was kind of our wheelhouse, they're fine with repetition. They thrive on it. And we certainly had some greatest hits that we would redo and try to improve and do all that stuff. But we were certainly trying to innovate and do things that excited us creatively, and I think that excitement like was contagious within the teams. Plus, we were kind of like mix up the teams. We would kind of be with the Chica would be with a host for about 3 months or so, and then we kind of switch it up, to kind of keep it fresh.
Sure.
It was the Sunshine Barn, so it was farm fresh. And, just kind of bringing that new energy that new teams can do, and then finding that groove with another. It was great. It really, I think, made the show, I hope, better than they thought it could even be.
I thought it was an amazing show. I think that it came across as it came across being simple, even though it wasn't. Watching how you guys pulled that off, and it just felt like a fun place for kids.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's what so charged me up about doing that show, is that we really had, the kids were the entire focus. The kids were the focus. Like even when the hosts, like when they were learning kind of like how to talk to the camera, it's like, are you talking to an audience? Like, no, you're talking to one kid. Sproutlet is what we call our audience. You're talking to one Sproutlet, and you're not like, let's go watch Barney. Like, let's go play with our friend Barney.
Right.
Right. Like, let's go. Hey, we're here and we're sharing this together. And it's like this place that you're inviting them in. It's kind of creating this world that you're their friend and they're
Right.
your friend. And just like, I mean, obviously that was your guys' vibe too. And the fact that we were live was, I don't think Sunny Side Up gets enough credit for being that live, the one, especially when we were on, it was the one and only live show
Right.
for preschoolers. So that when they sent in a message, it was very important to us to like address as many of those messages as we could, because we got lots of messages from kids during the actual show, not just the birthdays that they sent in,
Right.
but we had every day it was called Tell Chica. So we'd have our theme and we always had a question like, if it was Colors Week, it's like, what's your favorite color? All right, go to sproutonline.com and tell Chica what your favorite color is, and maybe we'll get to share it. So every time there was like a credit, coming in from the credits, or anytime during the show, we could share a kid's message, as many as we could, especially if we knew we were going to be doing something with that color in the coming thing. We would use that as a jump off point for, it's almost like your message inspired this game that we're going to play right now. And how awesome is that? And I never took for granted that connection we had with our audience, those kids, and how I took that very seriously. We all did. All of us took that job very, very seriously, and how like we knew that we were being trusted into these homes, and there was a lot of choice. There's a lot of choice the parents could do, and they trusted us, and we took that trust to heart, and we were honored and happy to be a part of these kids' lives, and it was very, very special.
Yeah, it is very special, and it's an important thing that I've tried to get through this show is how much these performers. This was not just a job. This was just not about a paycheck. I mean, we care about it, and we knew how much you cared about it, and we cared about it that much. I was 23 when I started Barney, and I learned very quickly the responsibility of it. It's a responsibility. You can't just jump in and jump around for a little bit. It doesn't work that way. It's a full commitment to what you're doing, and you understand. I mean, you're bringing these characters to life, and these kids, these songs, and all these parts of it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It really means something to them, and the fact that you were able to come to that realization so young, I wish that I did. I came to this job, like I said, the long and winding purple road.
Sure. Yes.
It was. The one regret that I have, I wish I had found Sunny Side Up sooner when I was younger, because then I could have done it longer. Because it was like, yes, like not only is this fun and clearly in my wheelhouse in terms of my sensibility, and just like I never lost that connection of joy and being like and fun and the importance of all that, but the fact that like you could do it at work and they encourage it,
right?
It was just so special, and that you're putting something positive out into the world. You're giving something to kids that makes their day better. The parents, I'm coming from the perspective of a parent.
Sure.
I know how valuable that is to a parent. Sure. And I'm thinking of them too. It's like, for that mom, that dad that needs to like go and like have a cup of coffee, we got them. It's good. Like, hey, we're going to make a craft together. Maybe they'll show you later on how to make this cardboard tube caterpillar, or maybe this snack with celery and peanut butter. It's going to be great. You go ahead. We got this for a little while. And, it was just such an honor and a pleasure. And I wish I had found kids media sooner, because everyone I met, yourself included, you and Dean and all the wonderful guests we had come through the Sunny Side Up show, like they say, don't meet your heroes. Man, I got to meet so many of mine in that world, like Carol Spinney, who I know you worked with, right?
I did.
Who played Oscar the Grouch and Big Bird. Got to work with him. I got to puppeteer next to Carol Spinney. Yeah. We had Oscar the Grouch, came on as a guest for Earth Day. We thought, who's like the recycler better than Oscar the Grouch? He uses all the trash. It's going to be great. So we have Oscar the Grouch on in the barn with Sean, who's the host. And I'm on one side. I'm with Chica in the nest. Sean's in the middle. And then there's Carol Spinney sitting there doing Oscar. And, you know, the puppeteer's perspective is very different. I'm seeing everybody's knees and feet, right? Knees and feet. See my autobiography, knees and feet. And and I could just look over, and the fact that like I can kind of in a moment where Chica I'm doing Chica now. In a moment where I can have Chica sit still, I can look and see him doing Oscar the Grouch in a perspective that very few get to see. And it was so amazing. Oh, and this is another great story too I want to share with you. This was very special. I mean, it was, you know, working with Carol Spinney, who, you know,
a legend.
A legend, and he was such a nice man, and he was incredible. And he, so we've done the live show. We're gonna finish the show, and we're gonna do some promos. You know, we got to ask the Grouch here. We got to have him say, you know, hey everybody, watch blah blah blah. You know, and so Carol's got Oscar. And they're going to shoot it in the barn. So Sean, the host, left. It was just going to be Oscar by himself. So I'm not leaving. I want to sit there and I want to watch. You know, I'm like, I'm good. Go ahead. You guys go ahead. I have my IFB and I can hear him doing the counts, talking to him. And so Oscar the Grouch is, you know, one of those puppets where, you know, his hand is in there doing the head, and his left hand is doing Oscar's left hand. But Oscar does have a right hand, but there's no puppeteer there to do it. Carol Spinney says before they start going, you know, I have a puppeteer in here with me who can do Oscar's right hand if you want. And he looks at me. He's like, you want to do it? I'm like, yes. And they're like, okay. In the control room, they're like, okay, go ahead. I'm like, so I like run over. I like get my hand. I'm like up in. I have no idea what we're going to do. I've never done it before. And he knows the gift he just gave me. He knows what he did. And I asked him, I was like, is there anything I should do? Is there anything I should know? I've never done this before. He said, your instincts are great. You're going to be great. Just follow me. I was like, oh. And we did these promos, and I'm Oscar's right hand, and I'm waving, and I'm just kind of wrapping his fingers. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. But it looked great. And it was like, oh, man, it was so special. I'm just like, what am I doing here? And my friend Ed took a great picture. There's the door to the control room had this little thing of glass because it is an office. And he got a shot of me like kind of like reaching up and doing the hand, and like the look on my face is just like it was just he was
amazing. He was amazing. I met him. He was wearing the legs of Big Bird.
Big Bird, yeah.
I near lost my mind walking up, and he said, I'm Carol Spinney, and I'm just, you know, trying to be very professional, but losing my mind. And when we were there, and I've told some of this before, but when we were there, everyone wanted to talk to him. And in between, we were doing the satellite TV, so we do an interview in Pittsburgh. I think we were in Washington, and then 20 minutes later we're in Idaho.
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to ask him questions, including my dresser and the voice and all of that. And everyone forgot me, and I can't get out because they're so quick. And who was worried about me but Carol Spinney?
Oh.
And so they'd be telling these stories, and he'd say, hold on a second. Is Carrie okay? Does Carrie need some water? And I thought, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? And I got to tell you this, Forrest, here's mine. So we get on, I don't know, we're in, Good Morning Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And so there's Barney and Big Bird, and this is a big deal. Barney and Big Bird have never been together. And here we are together, and we're doing our thing. This is live. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Big Bird turns his head to the left, and who's talking but Oscar the Grouch? So what most people don't know is that he's the voice of both. Yeah. And so he starts having a conversation with Oscar in the Big Bird costume. And now I'm having to look over and talk to Oscar, who of course is not there because his voice is to my right, but everyone is, and I'm thinking, I mean, this is masterclass. We're having masterclass here. I've been playing the role of Barney for probably 12 years at that point, and I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away. And, you know, we get done and he just, you know, starts telling stories again, takes a drink of water. And I'm like, do you even realize what you just,
we're going to talk about this?
Yeah. It just blew my mind. I can't believe you just did that.
Yeah. What was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
And the host had no clue, whoever, you know, was on the screen on wherever, Pittsburgh or something like that, no clue what just happened. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to need some time to let that settle in, because that was unbelievable.
Man, you're probably one of the few that got to do a scene with Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch at the same time, and Cal Spinney did both. And think about that. He has to have the mind to, like, when he is doing Oscar's voice, not to move Big Bird's mouth.
Yeah.
Right? Because normally when you're puppeteering, you're going to move your hand. You've got to not do it. And that's masterclass right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it was just unbelievable. And that's when you go, man, I need to practice some more. And I think I thought I was feeling good about my skill level, but I have just been shown up here, and I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When the pros, the ones that are doing it and they've done it that long, man, it's inspiring, especially him looking out for you like that. That is so him. And honestly, that is so all the puppeteers that I've met, they're all looking out for each other, because they are, generally speaking, cramped and tucked and very uncomfortable and like holding the arm up for a long time. And it's like any opportunity they can get to rest it, they want it. And I know I have, you know, the young puppeteer I would be on a set with more seasoned puppeteers who are like, you can ask for a break. You can put your hand down. Oh, I can? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Like, I don't know, because I don't want to ruin somebody's, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, it's okay. And you need more for something else for your back? It's okay if you want something else. Oh, can I? Oh, okay. Oh, that'd be great. Thanks.
I'm laughing because same thing for me. There was years later where they did some things for, you know, made some adjustments for the costume, make it easier on me. And but in the early days, and I didn't want to say anything. You know,
right? Because I'm happy to have the job. I remember when they made the first Chica puppet in the very beginning. Like, we saw this design. Here's what she's gonna look like. And the first Chica puppet shows up at the office. We're like, oh, there it is. The first unboxing. The Chica puppet comes out, and the Chicateers are all there, like, try her out. Let's see. And first Chicateer puts it, like, oh, wow, that's so awesome. I'm doing it with 2 fingers because that's like what her beak was. You couldn't do that. It was that. I was like, okay. And then the other Chicateer was like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, it doesn't fit. Like, it was like that. Like, I can't. I'm fired. I can't even fit into the puppet. I'm so dead. And it was like, no. We're gonna make more. Like, there's not just gonna be one puppet for a live show every day.
Right.
Like, they made, each of us eventually got 2. Like, two for Jen, 2 for me, 2 for Ed. You know, like, we all got 2. Like. And they were my size, like, oh, but I didn't know that. You know, I think I don't fit the puppet. I'm fired. I'm gone. And then when they brought in the first design for the nest, which is like a desk, I didn't fit in that either. I got under, it was like, boom, bang my head, ow. I can't put my arm up, ow. Well, that's it. That's strike 2. I'm out. But they're like, nah, we'll raise it up. It came up. I'm like, oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Thanks very much. I can do that.
Well, I knew this was going to happen for us. You're just going to have to come back, because I knew there is so.
That's not the time, is it?
So many, yes, and I knew this was going to happen because I got so much I want to talk to you about. So you're just going to have to come back, including on your shirt there, that Texas. You know, I'm very proud Texan. Yes, very proud Texan. And
there you go, Continental. That's a great place.
There it is.
Yeah. Oh wait, can I share? Can I share real quick a picture? that
22.
of you. I think
Oh, my
that's us
God.
in New Orleans, right?
That is.
Yeah,
That
was
is
us.
up to New Orleans. Yeah.
Actually, they let me up out of the nest for one picture. I thought that was very nice.
You've got to, well, if I don't have that, you've got to send that to me.
Oh, I will. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, but I can't let you go without, you got to sing a song. I'm going to put you on the
Oh,
spot. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I can manage. See, here's the thing, and I know you sang this song with me on set. Now you may not remember now because Sunny Side Up did not sing the regular birthday song. We did birthdays every day,
Right.
but we could not sing that birthday song because we didn't have the rights to it.
Right.
So the great Tim Burns wrote a song for. I got my ukulele right here.
Oh, I love it. Oh, look at
God.
that.
We had our own Sunny Side Up show birthday song that we sang. We tried to do the math one time,
Yeah.
like around our 1,000th show. It's like, how many times have we sung this song? It was a lot of times. So, but I didn't really ever have to play it. It was always recorded. So I'm going to do my best. But for those who haven't heard the song in a while, I hope this is a nice thing to hear. And maybe it'll bring back some memories. I don't know. Happy, happy birthday to you. Ba-ba-da. Happy, happy birthday to you. I hope I get it right. You're good to grow, so count the candles and blow. Happy, happy birthday to you, to you, to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. There you go.
You got it perfect. It was awesome. And how could you
Thanks,
not
man.
smile listening to that?
It's a good song. It's a good song.
I can't thank you enough, Forrest, for coming on.
Gary, I'm so happy to be here, bud, and I love what you're doing, and it's really been great to talk to you and catch up. Like, really, really was.
Well, thank you. And you got to come back. You got to come back because I had so many dang questions. and as I love about this show, you never know where it's going to go. And I love your Carol Spinney story because I didn't know that story, and I love that.
Oh, it's a good one. Yeah, and thanks for sharing yours too. And yeah, man, I'm back anytime you want, buddy. I'm here.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Purple Roads fans. We'll see you next week. Oh, remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. See, I'm still thinking about Carol Spinney. We love you all, and we'll see you next week.